Want help to grow your business? Download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.
Hi, this is Yamini Naidu. Welcome to the power of storytelling. In this episode, we're going to look at success secrets of business storytelling. These success secrets are going to make your stories shine, make your stories stand out, head and shoulders above everybody else. So my first success secret is start strong. Research tells us that audiences are really tough on bad starts. About 66% of your audience won't give you a second chance. There's an old proverb that says, when you're selling fire extinguishers, start with fire. And I can't say that enough in terms of storytelling. So you've got to start strong with that first sentence, with your beginning. You want to really hook your audience in. You want to hook your audience in so they're leaning in and they want more from your story. Now, in the previous episode, in episode 4, we talked about beginnings. We talked about how you can structure your beginning. The simplest yet the most powerful way to do that is to use time and place. So, for example, you could go, yesterday at the gym, or I remember when I was 10, or 3 years ago in my last job. Time and place immediately drop your audience straight into your story. In storytelling, small things make a big difference. And time and place can do that for you when you're starting strong because it takes your audience bang into the story. Stephen Denning, who's the founder of the field of storytelling, he invites us to use time and place. But when you're starting strong, and once you're aiming at mastery with your storytelling, now that you know the rule of using time and place, and it's never formulaic because there are so many variations of it, I also invite you to subvert the rule, play with it. So you could, for example, you could use a provocative question. You could go, have you ever hit rock bottom? I remember when I was 18, and bang, tell your story. Can you see the power of asking a provocative question? And that'll have your audience leaning in, and then you can go straight into your story. Getting your strong start, it really helps knowing what matters for your audience, what resonates with them. And if you can use that to start strong, then you're literally going to have your audience at hello. I don't know if you're familiar, there was this romantic sports action comedy from the 1990s, Jerry Maguire, that gave us so many lines in pop culture. So in the movie, Jerry Maguire, Tom Cruise's character at the very end of the movie is doing this big romantic preamble, telling Renee Zellweger that he loves her. So he does this long romantic preamble, and Renee Zellweger looks straight at him and says, "You had me at hello. You had me at hello." And that's what starting strong can do for you as a storyteller. So that's our first success secret with storytelling. My second success secret is to use a segue. So clients tell me, we love the idea of starting strong. We love the idea of using time and place, subverting the rule, having your audience at hello. But we feel really awkward when we're launching into a story. It's not like you come into a room, you tell a story, and you leave a room. Or, you're not in a meeting, you just don't stand up and do your story. So we really need a segue. We need a segue statement. So segues can be really simple. My favorite segue is for example. For example. I remember many years ago when I started my speaking career, the very first speaking coach I worked with, she taught me that. She said, make a point and then you go for example. And that lets you then introduce a story or an example. So that's a really simple, elegant segue. What I want you to definitely avoid, so there are segues that for me are the kiss of death. You want to totally stay away from them. The first segue that I want you to totally avoid is doing a massive, long preamble. So, sometimes people might be using a story about team building, and then they go, it's really important, team building is so important to us and our team, and all the organizations that do really well, I notice that they use a lot of team building. Every day in the work that we do, Oh my God! It's not a segue, it's a slow death, isn't it? You can see your audience just dying before you even got into the story. So that's definitely any sort of large, long preamble. And we tend to do preambles because we're nervous. We don't know how to segue into the story. So these are mistakes to totally avoid. But now that I've given you, and I'll give you some more elegant segues, once you understand or you get used to using an elegant segue, you'll never have to do one of those nasty audience-losing preambles. The other kind of segue to totally avoid is to give away your ending. So that for me is a total kiss of death. Hollywood, usually, 99.9% of the time, they don't tell us the ending. But we know the hero is going to be okay. He's going to get the girl. He's going to survive that car chase. But they still want us. They want us to engage in the story, to be on the edge of our seats, to have that feeling of suspense. And that's what you want with your story. So for God's sake, don't tell us the ending. So don't say, this is a story about courage. The audience is not going to listen because you've given away. For me, endings are like a gift. So don't give them away till the ending. So then that's the gift that you leave your audience with. So those are some ugly segues to stay away from. The long, big, fat preamble, telling people what the story is going to be about, and giving away the ending. So what segues do work? So what are some things you've got a great, strong start, but just before you launch into your story, you need a little bridge. That's what a segue is. It lets you bridge into the story. So you could go to share what I mean and then tell your story. Or you could go to illustrate what I'm talking about. I remember 3 years ago at my last job. So can you see how I've got this segue to illustrate what I'm talking about? And then bang, I've put in my beginning 3 years ago in my last job. So often think of them as like a little twin team that work together. You have a segue and you have your strong start. Sometimes you don't even need a segue. So often when I'm working with clients, they're doing a large presentation, I often encourage them or challenge them or invite them to walk onto the stage and just launch straight into the story. But then you've got to make sure that you're starting super strong so that first sentence hooks your audience in. And then, of course, you'd explain the point and, you'd follow that story on with some really powerful content. So that's another way when you could just start strong. I call that the nude start. So where you're just starting strong without a segue. But in most instances, for you to smoothly use a story in a business context, so you might be in a team meeting, you might be presenting to your clients, you might be talking to some suppliers, and you think, I should really use a story here. A segue will help you. I don't know if you know Christine Nixon. She was the police commissioner of Victoria. And she used to always often have to do large town hall meetings, presentations. And she would have up these strategy slides that were quite dense with content. And she'd give people, a couple of seconds or 30, 40 seconds to read what was on the slide. And then she would say, what that means. For example, I was talking to a farmer out in Gippsland yesterday. And bang, she would tell us the story. But can you see how her segue worked? So how she then used the segue to segue into her story, into her beginning. So we've looked at starting strong, using segues. So what is our next success secret? Our next success secret is having fun with storytelling. I think the business world is in grave danger of taking ourselves too seriously. The whole world, I think terminal seriousness is a worldwide epidemic. Now, not for a moment am I saying what you do is not important. What your clients are important to you. Your message is important. But storytelling, to be successful with it, requires a light energy. You've got to have fun with it. Of course, some of our stories may be more serious than others, but even in the most serious story, there can be an element of humor. Now, when I say something like have fun with storytelling, it sounds like one of those pop psychology things that you hear about or you see on Instagram. So what are some practical ways in which you can have fun with your storytelling? I think the first way is to pick something Pick a story that you enjoy sharing. So your eyes light up, you're dynamic. People can sense, they can sense that energy. I remember sitting through a presentation where a CEO was sharing a story about his childhood. And he was so uncomfortable, like he was squirming all the way through the story. It was really uncomfortable for the audience. And later on, we found out that he...
To continue enjoying this presentation, download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.